Holy Spirit, give me strength to keep going, seeking your peace. You did not arrive here by accident. Something in you chose to keep listening instead of shutting down, and that choice already reveals a quiet strength you may not recognize yet. I know how heavy it feels to wake up carrying questions you cannot answer and responsibilities you cannot escape. I know the weight of pretending you are fine while your inner world feels stretched thin. You are not failing because you feel this way. You are human, and you are still walking. There is a kind of exhaustion that does not come from doing too much, but from holding too much inside. You keep moving, you keep believing, you keep showing up, yet peace feels just out of reach. When that happens, the mind begins to ask dangerous questions. What if nothing changes? What if this is as far as I get? What if I am asking God for strength and hearing nothing back? These questions do not make you faithless. They reveal how deeply you care. Listen closely. Strength is not always given as a surge of energy. Often it is given as restraint, as steadiness, as the ability to remain without collapsing. Peace is not always loud or immediate. Sometimes it enters quietly and keeps you from breaking apart while the storm continues. The Holy Spirit works in ways that do not demand attention, but produce endurance. I am not calling you to push harder or to silence your pain. I am calling you to stay present. Stay with me in this moment. Stay honest about what hurts. Stay open even when answers do not come quickly. You do not need to understand the full picture for me to walk with you through it. You only need to allow me to carry what you cannot. Right now, something important is happening beneath the surface. You are being held together, even when you feel close to unraveling. The peace you are seeking is not far away. It is forming within your willingness to continue breathing, listening, and trusting one step at a time. Do not rush past this moment. Let it shape you. What comes next depends on your decision to remain. When moving forward feels heavier than stopping. There are moments when continuing feels like an unfair demand, not because you lack courage, but because you have already given more than anyone knows. Moving forward asks you to invest hope again, and hope feels expensive when you have been disappointed before. Stopping promises relief, silence, and an end to effort. It looks gentle, but it hides a deeper loss. When moving forward feels heavy, it is often because you are carrying expectations that were never meant to rest entirely on your shoulders. You are trying to stay faithful, productive, patient, and strong all at once. That kind of pressure slowly drains the soul. It makes each step feel like resistance instead of progress. Yet this does not mean you are on the wrong path. It means you are walking through a narrow place. I see how you hesitate, how you wonder if pausing would finally bring peace. But stopping here would not give your heart what it needs. It would only interrupt the inner work that is quietly strengthening you. Forward does not mean fast. It does not mean confident. It means willing. Willing to take the next step without guarantees, without applause, without immediate comfort. There is a difference between rest and retreat. Rest restores you so you can continue. Retreat slowly convinces you that you were never strong enough to begin. I'm not asking you to prove anything. I'm asking you to trust that I am sustaining you even when you feel empty. My strength is not added on top of yours. It replaces what you no longer have. The heaviness you feel is not evidence that you should stop. It is evidence that what you are carrying has meaning. Growth often feels like weight before it feels like freedom. Peace does not always arrive by removing the burden. Sometimes it arrives by showing you that you are not carrying it alone. Do not measure your progress by how easy it feels. Measure it by the fact that you are still here, still listening, still choosing not to give up on what I am forming in you. Keep going, not because you are strong, but because you are held. And that holding is already shaping the peace you are seeking. The silent battle of those who never quit. There is a battle you fight that few people ever notice. From the outside, you look stable, consistent, reliable. You keep your word, you show up, you do what needs to be done. But inside, there is a quiet war that never seems to rest. No one applauds it, no one asks about it, and because it is invisible, it often feels lonely. This kind of battle is exhausting because it offers no release. You cannot explain it easily, and you are tired of trying. You fear that if you speak honestly, you will sound weak or ungrateful. So you learn to carry it silently. You smile when required. You nod when expected. You keep moving even when your inner strength feels thin. This silence is not cowardice. It is survival. What makes this battle heavier is that you do not quit. You stay when it would be easier to walk away. You remain faithful even when you feel unseen. You keep believing even when belief feels fragile. And because you do not collapse outwardly, you assume you must handle everything inwardly alone. That assumption slowly wears you down. I see the cost of your endurance. I see the nights when your thoughts refuse to rest. I see the moments when you question whether anyone understands how much effort it takes just to stay steady. You are not weak for feeling this tension. You are strong in a way that has gone unnoticed for too long. This silent battle is not meant to be won by sheer willpower. You were never designed to sustain this alone. The Holy Spirit is not waiting for you to ask perfectly or loudly. He is already present in the places where you feel stretched beyond your limits. He strengthens not by demanding more effort, but by easing the internal strain you have learned to normalize. You do not need to prove your perseverance anymore. Continuing does not mean suffering quietly. It means allowing support where you once relied only on self-control. The peace you are seeking begins when you stop treating your silent struggle as something you must endure without help. Stay with me here. There is more unfolding beneath this quiet fight than you realize. What feels like isolation is becoming depth. What feels like pressure is shaping clarity, and what feels unseen is being carefully held, even now. Why your heart is tired, even when your faith is real. There is a confusion that settles in when your heart feels exhausted, but your faith is still intact. You believe in God. You trust His promises. You have not walked away. And yet, you feel worn down in a way that prayer alone does not seem to immediately fix. This tension can quietly trouble you because you were taught that faith should make things lighter, not heavier. So when tiredness remains, you begin to wonder what is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. Your heart is tired because faith does not eliminate emotional weight. It often increases it. Faith asks you to care deeply, to hope sincerely, to love without guarantees. It teaches you to stay open instead of shutting down. And openness, while beautiful, makes you vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness, but it does require strength to sustain. Your heart has been carrying responsibility, expectation, and longing all at once. You have been trusting God while also navigating uncertainty. You have been praying while still needing to make hard decisions. You have been believing while not seeing immediate change. This combination creates a specific kind of fatigue, one that comes from holding belief and reality together without letting either collapse. Many people assume that a tired heart means a distant God. The opposite is often true. A tired heart usually belongs to someone who has been walking closely, listening carefully, and responding faithfully even when it costs them comfort. You are tired because you have not numbed yourself. You are tired because you have remained engaged. Faith does not remove effort, it redirects it. Instead of striving to control outcomes, you strive to remain aligned. Instead of forcing solutions, you wait while still carrying responsibility. That waiting can feel heavy when it stretches longer than expected. It presses on the heart, not because God is absent, but because growth is happening slowly and deeply. The Holy Spirit understands this fatigue. He does not accuse you of lacking trust. He recognizes the weight of sustained belief. He meets you not to demand renewed enthusiasm, but to offer rest that does not require disengagement. Rest that allows you to stay faithful without burning out. Your tired heart is not a sign to stop believing. It is a signal to stop carrying everything alone. You are allowed to lean without losing your faith. You are allowed to pause internally, even while you continue outwardly. Strength does not mean constant intensity. Sometimes it means learning how to remain soft without breaking. Stay attentive to what is happening within you. This tiredness is not the end of your journey. It is a transition. Something is being recalibrated so that your faith can continue without draining your soul. What comes next will make sense only if you allow this moment to do its quiet work. The difference between losing peace and losing direction. There is a moment when discomfort makes you question everything. You feel unsettled, restless, emotionally off balance, and the first conclusion your mind jumps to is that you must be on the wrong path. You assume that peace is the proof of alignment, and the absence of it feels like failure. But not every loss of peace means you have lost direction. Sometimes it means your direction is correct, but your inner world is being stretched to grow into it. Losing peace affects how you feel. Losing direction affects where you are going. These two are often confused, and that confusion causes unnecessary fear. You can feel anxious, tired, and overwhelmed while still walking exactly where you are meant to be. Emotional turbulence does not automatically signal spiritual misalignment. It often signals transition. When God leads you forward, He does not always remove internal resistance immediately. New levels require new capacities. Your old sense of peace may not fit where you are being taken. The familiar calm you once relied on can disappear, not because you are wrong, but because you are being asked to trust differently. Direction is anchored in calling, not in comfort. Peace, as you once knew it, may fade when you step into responsibility, obedience, or deeper surrender. This does not mean you should turn back. It means you must allow peace to be redefined. Instead of a feeling that protects you from tension, peace becomes an anchor that keeps you steady within it. That kind of peace grows quietly. It does not announce itself. It stabilizes you from within. I see how unsettling this feels. You want reassurance. You want clarity. You want something inside you to settle so you can move without hesitation. But clarity often follows movement, not the other way around. Direction becomes clearer as you continue, not as you pause to analyze every feeling. Do not let temporary unrest convince you that you are lost. Being challenged internally does not cancel divine guidance. Sometimes the path is right, but the process is uncomfortable because it is reshaping how you rely on me. You are learning to walk by trust rather than emotional certainty. Stay attentive to the deeper signals. Direction speaks through conviction, consistency, and alignment with truth. Peace will return, but it may look different than before. It will be quieter, steadier, less dependent on circumstances. And when it settles, you will realize you never lost your way. You were simply being prepared to walk it with greater depth and resilience. When God allows the pressure to remain. There are moments when you pray with sincerity, ask with humility, and wait with expectation, yet the pressure does not lift. You wonder why God, who has the power to change everything instantly, allows the weight to remain. This is where confusion quietly grows. You start questioning whether your prayers were heard or whether you are being overlooked. But pressure remaining is not the same as God being absent. Pressure is not always punishment, and it is not always resistance. Sometimes it is refinement. When God allows pressure to stay, it is often because removing it too soon would interrupt the work happening within you. Relief can feel merciful, but endurance builds something deeper. Not everything that presses against you is meant to crush you. Some things are meant to strengthen you quietly. I know how tempting it is to believe that peace only comes when pressure ends. But lasting peace is not fragile. It does not collapse when circumstances stay difficult. It learns how to breathe under weight. The Holy Spirit does not always remove the burden. Sometimes He adjusts your inner posture so the burden no longer defines you. Pressure exposes where you rely on control instead of trust. It reveals habits of self-protection you did not realize you were using. When pressure remains, it forces you to confront what you usually avoid. That confrontation is uncomfortable, but it is honest. And honesty is where transformation begins. I do not allow pressure to remain to test your limits. I allow it to teach you where your true support comes from. When you feel stretched beyond your capacity, you are being invited to stop relying on your own strength. This is not abandonment. It is an invitation into deeper dependence. You are not being punished by difficulty. You are being trained by it. Strength that is never tested remains theoretical. Peace that is never challenged remains shallow. What you are learning now will support you later in ways comfort never could. Stay present in this pressure. Do not rush to escape it or explain it away. Let it do its work. What feels heavy now is shaping resilience you will recognize later. You are not stuck. You are being strengthened in place. The strength that comes when nothing changes outside. There is a particular frustration that sets in when you have prayed, waited, trusted, and adjusted your heart, yet nothing around you seems different. The situation looks the same. The challenge still stands. The answers you hoped for have not arrived. This is where discouragement often tries to take root, whispering that your effort has been wasted. But this is also where a different kind of strength begins to form. When nothing changes outside, you are forced to notice what is changing within. At first, it feels unfair. You expected results, not internal shifts. You wanted movement, not endurance. But inner strength is rarely built in moments of visible progress. It is shaped when you continue to show up without external reinforcement. That kind of strength does not depend on circumstances. It grows quietly, almost unnoticed. I see how difficult it is to keep going when your environment offers no encouragement. It feels like walking without landmarks, measuring progress without markers. Yet this is where resilience is born. You are learning to draw stability from something deeper than outcomes. You are discovering that your ability to remain grounded does not have to mirror what surrounds you. This strength is not dramatic. It does not arrive with confidence or excitement. It feels subtle, almost unremarkable. It shows up as patience where frustration used to dominate, as clarity where confusion once ruled, as the ability to breathe through moments that previously overwhelmed you. You may not recognize it immediately, but it is there, holding you steady. When nothing changes outside, it reveals how much you have depended on external shifts to validate your effort. Now you are learning to trust that growth can be real even when it is invisible. This is not stagnation. It is deep alignment. The Holy Spirit works here, beneath the surface, reinforcing your inner foundation so that future changes do not destabilize you. I know you want relief. I know you want confirmation that your perseverance matters. It does. The strength forming now will support you when things finally do move. Without it, progress would overwhelm you. With it, you will be able to carry what comes next without losing yourself. Do not dismiss this season because it lacks visible reward. It is preparing you to stand without depending on circumstances for balance. You are becoming steady in ways you once thought required external peace. That steadiness is a gift, and it is growing even now. Stay here with me. What feels like waiting is actually becoming capacity. What feels like delay is building endurance, and when change does come, you will realize that the strongest part of you was formed when nothing around you seemed to move at all. How the Holy Spirit teaches you to breathe again. There is a moment when the soul forgets how to rest. You keep inhaling responsibility, expectation, and pressure, but you no longer exhale peace. Life becomes a series of held breaths. You survive, but you do not feel alive. This is not because you are doing something wrong. It is because you have been strong for too long without being restored. The Holy Spirit does not rush into your life with noise or force. He comes quietly, meeting you at the pace your soul can handle. He notices when your inner world has tightened, when every decision feels heavy, when even prayer feels like effort. Before he changes anything else, he teaches you how to breathe again. Breathing is surrender. It is the act of releasing what you have been holding inside. When you finally exhale, you admit that you cannot carry everything at once. The Holy Spirit invites you into this release, not as weakness, but as wisdom. He reminds you that you were never designed to live in constant tension. You were designed to abide. This kind of breathing is not physical only, it is spiritual. It is learning to pause internally even when life does not pause externally. It is allowing moments of stillness without guilt. It is trusting that rest does not mean abandonment of responsibility, but realignment of the heart. I know how unfamiliar this feels. You have learned to stay alert, to anticipate problems, to remain guarded. Letting go feels risky, but the Holy Spirit does not ask you to drop everything at once. He guides you gently, teaching you to release one burden at a time. He restores rhythm to your inner life so that endurance does not turn into exhaustion. As you breathe again, something shifts. Your thoughts slow, your reactions soften. You begin to notice that strength does not always come from pushing forward. Sometimes it comes from allowing space for renewal. This is not escape. This is restoration. The Holy Spirit is patient with your pace. He does not shame you for being tired. He understands the weight you have carried. His presence steadies you, not by demanding more effort, but by giving you permission to live from a deeper source. You are not meant to operate on survival alone. You are meant to be sustained. Let this breathing become your anchor. When the world feels loud and demanding, return to this place of quiet connection. The more you learn to breathe with him, the more you will realize that peace is not something you chase. It is something you receive when you stop holding everything by yourself. The peace that doesn't end the storm, but holds you in it. There is a peace you have been searching for that you thought would arrive only after everything settled. You believed peace would come when the conflict ended, when the answers were clear, when the weight finally lifted. But the peace the Holy Spirit offers does not always work that way. Sometimes the storm continues, yet you do not fall apart inside it. That is not coincidence. That is presence. This kind of peace does not silence the noise around you. It quiets the panic within you. The situation may still be uncertain, the pressure may still exist, the outcome may still be unknown, but something inside you remains steady. Your thoughts no longer spiral the way they used to. Your heart no longer reacts to every wave. You are held, even while the storm moves. I know you expected peace to fix everything. I know you wanted relief that would erase the struggle, but if peace only existed when life was easy, it would not be strong enough to sustain you. True peace is resilient. It stays with you when nothing makes sense. It keeps you grounded when circumstances refuse to cooperate. This peace teaches you how to remain without hardening. It protects your heart from becoming bitter, defensive, or closed off. Without it, storms shape you through fear. With it, storms shape you through wisdom. You are still affected, but you are no longer consumed. The Holy Spirit does not promise a life without turbulence. He promises presence within it. That presence becomes the anchor that keeps you from drifting into despair. It reminds you that even when the situation feels out of control, you are not abandoned within it. You begin to notice that peace is not the absence of struggle, but the absence of inner collapse. You still feel emotion, but it no longer dominates you. You still face uncertainty, but it no longer defines you. That shift is subtle, but it is powerful. It changes how you carry everything else. This peace holds you together when answers are delayed. It keeps your heart soft when disappointment tries to harden it. It gives you space to respond instead of react. And slowly, without announcement, it reshapes how you experience hardship. You are not failing because the storm remains. You are growing because you are learning how to stand within it. The peace you feel now is not incomplete. It is maturing. It is learning how to stay when everything else moves. Remain here. Let this peace do its work. The storm does not get the final word. What is forming inside you will outlast what surrounds you. Why continuing is sometimes the greatest act of surrender. There is a lie that quietly settles into the heart when life becomes difficult. It tells you that surrender means giving up, that laying something down means walking away, that continuing only proves stubbornness or pride. But true surrender does not always look like stopping. Sometimes it looks like staying when every part of you wants relief. Continuing can be an act of deep surrender because it requires you to release control over outcomes. When you keep going, you are no longer trying to force a resolution or manipulate the timing. You are admitting that you cannot fix everything, and yet you trust enough to remain present. That kind of trust is not loud. It is steady. It does not demand certainty. It rests in faithfulness. There are moments when quitting would feel empowering, when walking away would feel like reclaiming your life. But if you are honest, you know that walking away would not bring peace. It would only silence the tension temporarily while leaving something unresolved inside you. Continuing, on the other hand, requires you to face the discomfort without numbing it. That is surrender. I see how misunderstood this feels. You worry that staying makes you weak or passive, but surrender is not passivity, it is alignment. It is choosing to remain where God is working instead of escaping because the work feels slow. It is trusting that obedience has value even when results are delayed. When you continue, you are no longer relying on your own strength. You are leaning into mine. You are saying, I do not understand this, but I will not abandon what I believe you are shaping. That choice is powerful. It opens space for peace to enter where control once lived. This kind of surrender strips away ego. It humbles expectations. It softens demands. You stop negotiating with God and start walking with Him. You stop asking for guarantees and start trusting presence. That shift changes everything, even when nothing looks different on the outside. Continuing teaches your heart that you are not held together by certainty, but by relationship. You learn that faith is not proven by dramatic gestures, but by quiet consistency, by waking up and choosing to stay aligned even when enthusiasm has faded. You are not trapped by your perseverance. You are being shaped by it. What feels like endurance is actually surrender unfolding over time. And surrender always creates space for peace, even if it takes longer than you hoped. Stay with me here. The strength you are discovering is not self-made. It is the result of letting go without walking away. And that is a surrender that transforms you from the inside out. When God becomes your refuge, not your explanation. There comes a point when questions no longer bring comfort. You have asked them carefully, faithfully, patiently. You have searched for meaning, for clarity, for reasons that would make the weight easier to carry. But instead of answers, you are met with silence. Not an empty silence, but one that feels intentional. This is the moment when God begins to change how you relate to Him. At first, this silence feels unsettling. You want explanations because explanations give you something to hold on to. They help you organize pain, justify effort, and predict outcomes. Without them, everything feels exposed. But refuge is not built through understanding. It is built through presence. And presence does not require explanations to sustain you. When God becomes your refuge, you stop approaching him only with questions and begin approaching him with your whole self. You bring your confusion, your frustration, your weariness, without demanding resolution. You rest in who he is rather than what he reveals. This shift is subtle, but it marks deep spiritual maturity. I know how uncomfortable this feels. You want to know why something is happening, how long it will last, and what it will lead to. But explanations would keep you at a distance, analyzing instead of abiding. Refuge draws you closer. It invites you to stay even when understanding is incomplete. In this place, faith changes form. It is no longer fueled by clarity, but by trust. You stop measuring God's faithfulness by outcomes and begin experiencing it through nearness. You discover that being held matters more than being informed. That safety matters more than certainty. When God becomes your refuge, anxiety loses its grip, not because circumstances improve, but because your heart has found a place to rest. You learn that you do not need to solve everything to be secure. You only need to know where you belong. This does not mean questions disappear. It means they no longer dominate you. They take their place behind relationship. You stop demanding immediate meaning and start receiving steady presence. That presence strengthens you in ways explanations never could. Refuge does not rush you. It does not pressure you to understand or perform. It shelters you while growth continues quietly. In this space, peace becomes less about answers and more about belonging. You are not waiting for God to explain himself. You are allowing him to hold you. Remain here. Let this refuge become familiar. There is strength in knowing where you can rest when understanding fails, and that strength will carry you through moments no explanation ever could. The quiet work of the Spirit you don't feel yet. There is a kind of work God does that cannot be measured by emotion. You look for signs, sensations, reassurance that something is changing, but instead you feel nothing new. This absence makes you uneasy. You assume that if you cannot feel progress, then nothing is happening. But the Spirit does some of his deepest work in silence, beneath awareness, beyond feeling. You have been taught to associate spiritual growth with intensity, with moments that move you, shake you, or overwhelm you. But quiet work requires trust because it offers no immediate feedback. It reshapes you slowly, gently, often without your consent or understanding. And because you cannot track it, you are tempted to doubt it. I want you to know this clearly. The lack of sensation is not the lack of activity. The Spirit does not need your awareness to operate. He works in the layers of your heart you do not visit often, adjusting patterns, softening defenses, healing fractures you learn to live with. By the time you notice the change, it has already been forming for a long time. This is why impatience feels strong right now. You're standing in a season where visible confirmation is absent. You want proof that continuing matters, that waiting is not wasted, that your endurance is not misplaced. But proof would short-circuit the work. It would pull you back into control instead of trust. The quiet work of the Spirit teaches you how to live without constant reassurance. It trains your faith to remain steady without emotional reinforcement. This kind of faith lasts. It does not collapse when feelings fade. It does not panic when God seems quiet. It knows how to stay. You may notice small shifts you cannot explain. Your reactions soften. Your fear loses urgency. Your thoughts no longer spiral the way they once did. These are not coincidences. They are evidence of internal realignment. Something is being rewired so that peace can remain even when pressure returns. I know you want to feel strong again, but strength that depends on feeling is unstable. What the Spirit is forming now is strength that remains even when you feel nothing at all. This strength is reliable. It carries you through seasons where emotion disappears and faith must stand on relationship alone. Do not rush this process. Do not dismiss it because it is quiet. Silence is not emptiness, it is space, and in that space, the Spirit is doing work you will thank Him for later, work that prepares you for what is ahead without overwhelming you in the present. Stay attentive without striving. Stay open without demanding. The Spirit is not finished just because you cannot feel Him. In fact, this may be the clearest sign that something lasting is being built within you. How peace sustains you when strength runs out. There will be moments when strength simply disappears, not because you gave up, not because you stopped trying, but because you reached the limit of what human effort can provide. These moments can feel frightening. You wonder how you will keep going without the energy you once relied on. But this is where peace steps in, not as a replacement for strength, but as its foundation. Peace does not ask you to push through exhaustion. It teaches you how to remain without collapsing. When strength fades, peace holds your inner world together. It prevents panic from taking over. It slows your thoughts. It keeps you from making decisions rooted in fear. This is not weakness. This is wisdom at work. You may have believed that endurance depended on willpower, that if you could just stay disciplined enough, focused enough, determined enough, everything would hold together. But willpower eventually runs dry. Peace does not. Peace is sustained by presence, not effort. It flows from knowing you are not carrying life alone. When strength runs out, peace reminds you that your worth is not measured by productivity. You are allowed to exist without proving anything. You are allowed to rest without guilt. This permission stabilizes you when everything else feels uncertain. It keeps you from defining yourself by what you can still do. I know how unsettling it feels to admit that you are tired. You fear that acknowledging weakness will cause everything to fall apart. But peace does not collapse under honesty. It grows stronger. It meets you exactly where you stop pretending. That is where support becomes real. This peace teaches you how to wait without despair. It keeps your heart anchored when answers are delayed. It allows you to remain open instead of shutting down. Without it, exhaustion would harden you. With it, exhaustion softens you, making room for restoration rather than resentment. Strength will return in time, but it may look different than before. It will be quieter, more balanced, less frantic. And when it returns, it will rest on a deeper foundation. Peace will carry it instead of the other way around. Do not fear the moment when strength fades. It is not the end of your capacity. It is the beginning of a different way of being sustained. One that does not rely on force, but on connection. One that keeps you steady, even when effort is no longer possible. Remain here. Let peace do what strength cannot. It will hold you together until you are ready to move again, not driven by pressure, but guided by trust. If you are still here, the Holy Spirit is not done with you. You may not feel strong. You may not feel certain. You may not even feel hopeful in the way you once did. But you are still here. Still listening, still breathing, still choosing not to shut down completely. That alone speaks louder than you realize. If the Holy Spirit were finished with you, this moment would not exist. The fact that you are here means something is still unfolding. Being here does not mean you have everything figured out. It means you have not disconnected from life, from faith, from the quiet pull that keeps you searching for peace, even when you are tired of searching. You are still responsive, still open, still reachable. And that is all the Spirit needs to continue His work. There were moments you thought you would not make it through, moments when quitting felt logical, even necessary, yet something held you back from walking away completely. That something was not your discipline or your strength. It was presence. It was the Spirit steadying you when you could not steady yourself. You did not survive because you were powerful. You survived because you were sustained. Do not minimize how far you have come just because you are still tired. Endurance does not always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like staying when leaving would be easier. Sometimes it looks like continuing to breathe when hope feels thin. That kind of endurance is sacred. It reveals that God has been closer than you thought. The Holy Spirit is not waiting for you to become stronger before He continues. He is working precisely because you are aware of your limits. Awareness creates space. Space invites support. Support produces peace, and peace restores strength in time. If you are still here, it means your story is not finished. It means what you are carrying has not been wasted. It means the work happening beneath the surface is not done forming. You may not see it yet, but you are being prepared for a version of yourself that can carry peace without losing depth. Stay present. Stay open. Stay willing to take the next step, even if you cannot see beyond it. You do not need to rush toward resolution. You only need to remain connected. The Spirit does not abandon what He begins. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are in process. And if you are still here, the Holy Spirit is still with you, still shaping you, still giving you exactly what you need to keep going, one breath at a time.